Hello, this is Skylit Lake reading Super Science by thatchickendude. Chapter 43. Prepare for the worst. After explaining their whole story to the man, Egon's eyes rolled back, and he falls off his hammock as Izuku says calmly, and Egon went into cardiac arrest again. Again? Chopper exclaimed in fright. I'm on it, Dr. Orpington says as she comes in on a cart with her defibrillator. Putting it on his bare chest, she says, Clear! A shock of electricity jolts across his body, and Egon gasps air while yelling, I live! Welcome back to the land of the clinically depressed, Professor, the doctor tells him. Good to be back, Egon says sarcastically while coughing. So, you still a kid? Egon watered down their story while buttoning up his shirt. I didn't steal her per se. I just took her away from a perceived threat, Izuku said with an uncomfortable smile. That's kidnapping, Egon shot back. Does it count when the kid looks like that? Chopper shoots back, looking at the girl in the teen's arms. He shrugs and agrees. Good point. But where did she come from? Professor Genus asks. She hasn't said. We just got here as fast as we could, Izuku informed them. Through the sewers, Chopper adds with a disgusted shiver. That explains the smell, Genus says while pinching his bare nose. It is days like this that makes me glad my sense of smell is practically useless, Dr. Orpington says with satisfaction as Genus glares at her, gloating. Egon sighs and says, Well, let's clean you three up, give you a checkup, and figure out what to do with Emmy. Eri, Izuku corrects him, making Egon look off to the side. Just then, Megan enters the room and asks, Sir, are you busy? No, I just finished up here. What is it? Egon tells her as she opens her mouth, only for it to fall short when she looks behind him and sees a huge spider standing behind him. She points to it in fear, and Egon sighs, Yes, I'm aware of the giant spider behind me. Was that there the whole time? Chopper exclaimed while seeing the huge arachnid behind him with dozens of glowing red eyes. Egon waved her and Chopper off while saying, Explain later. What is it, Megan? Megan composes herself, clearing her throat. She says, The Prime Minister and the Principal of UA are on the phone regarding Pacifica. Fuck me with a chainsaw, Egon blankly curses, only to feel immediate regret as he looks over to Eri, who has wide eyes staring at him. Even everyone else was staring at the girl, which is when he carefully asked, She didn't hear that, did she? Let's pretend she didn't, Izuku agreed. He changed subjects and says while rolling up his sleeves, Genus, you help the kids clean up, change, and go to doctrine for a physical to make sure they didn't discover a new disease. I gotta do an adult. After a long while, Egon finally emerged from his office, looking pale and exhausted as he marched through the hallway with Doctrine at his side. He complained, What a drag! How did it go explaining a new subcontinent in the middle of the ocean? she asked him in a serious tone. He blew a raspberry and explained. Nezu understood that it had nothing to do with him directly, but the Prime Minister, oh, that bitch can make you want to claw metal. I asked her if she wanted to keep an ever-growing dragon in Japan and find a way to feed it. I'm surprised she didn't take you up on it, to use it as a super weapon, she inquired. He shook his head in aggravated amusement and told her, oh, she did, but only after I told Torchwick wouldn't listen and would probably kill everything. Did she? Doctrine tried to ask, only for Egon to cut her off and list off in irritation. Yes, she asked if Izuku or I would want to join armed forces. I politely declined and told her we had no interest or skills in running an army over one dragon, and that he was a baby. She then chewed on a toothpick a bit while staring at him, knowing she wasn't here to let him vent. Egon got to the point of her company and asked, but enough of that. How's the kids? Clean and disease-free, thank goodness. But that Erity girl is a different story, she explained while telling him. She was so scared the entire time. She has to bathe with Izuku, she wouldn't leave him, and every time one of us came in, she would start to shake, especially around Dr. Orpington, and don't even get me started on medical devices. I thought she'd passed out when I pulled out a stethoscope. There's more to her, about her quirk, Egon prompted further. This was when Cluck came beside him in a chart and said, it took us forever to get a blood sample. She was crying and clinging to Izuku, begging him to make us stop. Eventually we drugged her. Egon stopped as he grabbed the chicken by the neck and yelled, You what? Laughing nervously while Dextron looked on in amusement, she said, Perhaps I should rephrase that. We used the drowsy puppy to put her to sleep. Egon thought back for a moment and remembered when Dr. Hollyhock brought the same plant to him. It looked just like a regular poppy flower, but once he took a whiff of it, he was out like a light for 2 hours. From what he was told after the fact, it was supposed to help people with severe insomnia. After hearing this, he calmed down and let the bird go, saying, You should have said that. So, what's her quirk? You are never going to believe this. She is one of those rare singularity cases, Cluck told him. She is? Egon and Doctrine said in unison. The chicken nods, and taking out her pewter pad, she explains. It is called Rewind, and it causes any and all living matter she comes in contact with to revert to a previous state, physically, biologically, or evolutionarily. Crap, Egon said while biting his fingers. And she has no control over it, she added. Double crap, Egon exclaimed. But that's not all, she adds again, getting amused by his expression. Please don't make me say crap any more than I have to, Egon practically begged while grabbing his hair. She quickly explained, I read her mind with the telepathy splinter, and for a long time she was in the company of the Yakuza. Yakuza? Egon exclaimed, while Doctrine just looked lost. Her memory is a bit fuzzy due to her not understanding what she was seeing or hearing, but they needed her for some kind of plan to, if my understanding is correct, erase quirks, she explained more in depth. Egon walks about while thinking aloud and saying, That makes sense. If Eric can cause living things to revert to a previous state, then that means he can cause a person to go back before they got their quirk, or even just erase the gene from their DNA entirely. Cluck shivered and stated, I don't want to return to being a normal chicken. Seeing this was already getting out of hand, Doctrine unplugged a bottle of wine and said with surprised calmness, Well then, we have to tell the Prime Minister about this. If we have her, then it's only a matter of time before they come to get her. Egon sighs, exhausted again, and tells her, I'm already dancing on eggshells after she finds out about Pacifica and Torchwick. I'll try the Hero Public Safety Commission. A bit later, Otto and Anima waited a long time for Egon to come out of his office, but to no avail. Whatever he was saying to the HPSC had to be essential for it to be going on this long. However, curiosity overcame any sense of moral high ground, and they both placed an ear or whatever Otto had on the door and listened in. From the sound of it, it seemed like they had just come in on the tail end of it, judging by the sound of the ever-increasing stress in their boss's voice. This isn't a joke, we're in real danger here, and if they come, we'll... What? Hello? Hello? Egon called out from the phone line before he screamed into the receiver. Jump on your ass and die! The two scientists quickly moved away from the door as they heard the sound of his angry footsteps stomping towards them. Egon came out, leaned against the door, and pulled his hair back while exclaiming in terror, We're dead in the water, they won't believe me. Then what do we do now? Otto asks. Egon slams his fist into his palm and declares, We prep and strike back when they do. The two scientists nod at one another, then turn back to the man, where they nod in affirmation. But before they could start on this plan, a peppy and familiar voice called out, Oh yeah, check it, ace researcher Robbie and Pura have come back, called Robbie's voice as he struck a pose in the hallway. Pura was holding her signature rock in hand, signifying her winking face. Egon dashed towards the two, grabbing them in a hug while exclaiming, Robbie, Pura, am I glad to see you two safe and well. I didn't realize we meant so much to you, Professor, Robbie said, a bit flattered. Egon pulled away and replied, Well, that and we're probably going to be attacked by the Yakuza soon. What? Pura asked as her glasses nearly fell off her face. Egon waves them off, then inquires, I'll explain later, but first, I didn't think you two would be back so soon. Robbie smiled brightly while saying with a dance, When you have an army of the mechanical wonders to do all the nitty and gritty, things progress real fast. We went back to the location where you found the Singularity Soul for the first time around and established a base camp. Afterward, we found a vein of the Singularity Soul. We came back here while leaving the robots to continue the excavation. Pura informed him while showing off a massive crystal node of the Singularity Soul carried by a robot. Egon sighs and says, It's good to know we'll have a large supply and a new guard dog for it. The two ancient scientists look at one another and shrug. Just before Egon goes to take care of other businesses, Rogi exclaims, And one other thing. Egon turns around inquisitively as he tells him, While mining for this stuff, we accidentally stumbled upon an ancient cave where we found something real cool. Egon waits for the rest of the story, but when both are just drawing out the tension, Egon practically yells, "Well, don't leave us in suspense. Tell us what it was." "We're not entirely sure what it is, whether it's a new species or an alien," Pura started. "We are going with aliens," Robbie interjected. Pura sighed while pushing him aside and saying, "But we found this." Then two robots brought in a huge tube tank with what looked like to be the largest blue starfish ever seen. In addition, it was one huge yellow eye in the center of its body, with mouths dropped open in shock. Pura said, "We have decided to call it Starro." Anima was frantically taking notes and pictures, while Otto fainted. Egon managed to calm down and not go into cardiac arrest again, as he breathed deeply and said as calmly as he could, "Well, I'll be damned. They did bring me an alien." Chapter 44. The Alien. "So, what can you tell me about our friend Starro?" Egon asked Professor Genus as the two observed several scientists running around the starfish alien and doing things to it from behind the glass of the observation room. Genus looked over his Pura pad and informed him, "Every living creature in this world is carbon-based. This isn't." "Anything else?" Egon prompted. "Sentient, sapient, has its own language, the whole 9 yards," he answered back. "But you can't talk with it?" Egon inquires. This time Izuku answered as he walked into the observation chamber. "Not even a little. It understands no English and can't write or read. Not even Chopper can communicate with it, and he can talk to any animal on Earth, extinct or otherwise." Egon then asks, "Have you tried a translator like the one for Otto and Cluck?" Genus nods and answers, "We are, but it's still a straightforward creature in this biology. Hard to translate brainwaves when your whole body is a brain." "Eri seems to like him," Izuku chipped in, watching the young girl, now clean and in a change of clothes, stand and stare, mesmerized by the alien. Egon sighs sadly and says, "To be fair, she'll take anything she sees, so long as it isn't medical or bird-related." Just then, Hatsum barges through the doors of the observation room and announces, "Sir, I think we have finally cracked the code. It took a lot of modding, but we've hooked up a two-way translator to Starro." The three scientists enter the room and are greeted by Starro, frantically looking around with his single eye as he hooked up to several nodes on his body in his own sized tank. The nodes have wires that go into machines that has a microphone hooked up externally to it. Egon and Izuku looked at one another, and Egon, taking the mic first, said, "Hello." Starro stood looking around frantically and stared at Izuku for a long while. After a bit, the machine said back, Who are you?" Seeing the machine work, Izuku explained, "I am Dr. Izuku Midoriya, and this is Professor Egon Cristallo. You are currently in the Neo-Icon Phoenix Research Facility. You're safe. We won't harm you." Starro looked lost in his words, so Izuku tried, "Do you have a name?" "What is name?" Starro asked back. "It's something that identifies you, but if you don't have one, everyone here has been calling you Starro. Is that alright? Izuku asked the alien again. Starro looked around for a bit before deciding, Starro, yes, I am Starro. Where did you come from? Egon asks the starfish. Up, he said. Up? Both he and Izuku said at the same time. Starro turned his eye to the ceiling and exclaimed, Up in the stars, from my home, but not home, haven't been for so long, he said with a voice of longing before staring intensely at them and stating firmly in a dangerous tone, I want to go home. I'm afraid we can't do that, Izuku tells him. Why? Starro asks back in a calm demand. You live on a planet, yes? Izuku prompts further. Yes, large, blue, warm, beautiful, Starro describes while looking up. We have no idea where your home world is, or any way of getting you there. I hate to tell you this, but you're stuck. Egon breaks the bad news. Stuck? No. Starro said, back in disbelief. But Izuku quickly interjected and told him, But don't worry, here at NIP we are making leaps and bounds in all fields of science, so we'll get you home someday. Just not today. You just need to wait. Starro looks around before replying with gratitude. Wait? Wait. Yes, I can wait. Thank you. Let's get you out into something more comfortable than this tube, Egon offered, and he could almost swear the alien looked happy. Just before wrapping up in the observation room, Robbie exclaimed, One more thing. All eyes turned to the man as he proclaimed, While transporting Starro, I think he had some babies. Gracefully moving to the side, 3 robots held up a fish tank with what looked to be smaller versions of Starro, freely swimming around. Holy crap, Egon murmured as he bit his fist, and Izuku stared in wonder at Eri. Not babies, Starro suddenly said. Going over to the mic, Izuku asked, Sorry, can you clarify? Not babies, me, Starro affirmed vaguely. All the scientists looked at one another, wondering what the alien meant, until Genus piped up and inquired, Isn't that just what babies are? A smaller version of you and your partner. What I think he means is that they are metaphysical extensions of his consciousness. Once their copy adheres to a host, they can communicate what Starro thinks and feels, even allowing him to understand a foreign language and control said host like a puppet. Pura answered for them while bursting into the observation chamber. All the scientists go from staring at her to one another, then back at her. Where Izuku asks, That's all well and good, but how did you figure that out? She then motions into the hallway where they see something both amazing and terrifying. Laying on the ground after being attended by other robots was a robot whose faceplate had been ripped off and its AI processor was destroyed and fried. It looked damaged beyond repair, with arcs short-circuiting from whatever was left of the motherboard. Next to it was one of the little Starros that appeared to be dead, with a faceplate stuck to its underside. And, apparently, when removed from the host, it kills them and the copy. Pura puts forth, I'm just glad it was just a robot. Izuku sighed, biting his fist in stress. Suddenly, a light bulb went on in Egon's head, and he said, with an annoying smile, I think they could come in handy. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the second video on Super Science after the long break, but either way, this is a nice chapter. Sorry about the difference in qualities from chapter 43 and 44, because I'm recording 44 on a much later date, so the audio quality would be not drastically different, but different nonetheless. So sorry about the giant difference. Also, just asking, how have you guys been? Because I'm just curious. I'm pretty sure Are You OK Day is coming up, and if you do know what that is, make sure to comment about your experiences of Are You OK, or just say Are you OK in the comments, just because everyone deserves to be okay. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Bye.